Welcome to the Healthier Together podcast.
By Body and Brain Yoga in Tai Chi.
How are you doing?
Very good. How about you?
Very good. You've been traveling again.
Yes, I've been to El Salvador this
El
time.
Salvador. How come?
Wow, because there was a big event.
Big event.
Yeah, the teachers and principals in their country recommended the creator of brain education, Ilji Lee, an award from the government.
Ilji Lee, the founder also of Body and Brain Yoga.
Yes.
But many people might not know, especially if they've just been to the yoga classes, that Ilji Lee and many of his students are working around the world to help people, in this case, in El Salvador, who are, I don't know if you know the history, but I've studied it a bit. El Salvador has been through a lot of difficulties.
Yes.
Natural disasters, civil war was really violent, really sad. And then after that, there's been a lot of gang violence.
Yes, and their crime rate and then murder rate is like number one in the country and number one in the world.
Yeah, I think it was the highest in the world.
So it is very dangerous.
You were saying that this school started teaching brain education.
Brain education. So, Ilji Lee is the president of IBREA. There is International Brain Education Association.
And they started about 7 years ago.
7 years ago. Yeah.
And so they were teaching in this one school, and I've seen pictures, and it looks kind of like the school originally kind of looked like a prison.
Yeah, it's very dangerous.
Yeah.
And also, with the school, there were two gangs who were fighting with each other. So it is not uncommon to see that, oh, my brother is killed by my friend's father.
Oh. So I heard that many other NGOs came to El Salvador trying to help the situation, but they'd show up, they'd feel the danger,
They felt unsafe.
and they'd leave after a week or two.
Yeah, and they gave this thick manual.
Oh, they give
Follow
a manual.
this manual, and I'm leaving.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So from the first school, they expanded to four schools, and then how about now?
Right now they have there like about 1,250 schools, public schools.
Wow.
There is
So
a-
1,250 schools.
Yeah, there is a quarter of all public schools in El Salvador.
Can you imagine? The whole country, a quarter of the schools are now teaching this brain education program to students and teachers.
Yeah,
Right?
so they are so happy with the result.
Wow.
And then teachers and principals recommended, they want to show gratitude. So they recommended Ilji Lee to get an award from the president.
We often think that, oh, there's so many problems. There's poverty, there's drugs, there's gangs, there's immigration, all these things. But the outside world hasn't changed that much yet, right?
Right.
But because of this one program within the school, a lot of people say that the whole community has changed, has become happier and more hopeful.
Yes. Yeah, because the brain education is letting people to recover their human character.
So it's not just another textbook.
Right. And the human character, and then the teachers of brain education, they deliver it so passionately. Because through brain education, I experienced life change. How about you?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you too, right?
Yep,
So
many
that is why
times.
when we deliver brain education naturally, we do it from the bottom of our heart, not from the head. So the energy is resonating with the people who receive it.
Yeah. So I think that's how human beings work.
Yes.
We like to talk to each other, but we know when something is just kind of logical, superficial, or when somebody's really speaking from their own experience with passion.
Right. We have that sense.
Yeah, we have that sense. How about us? How about today?
How about today? Yeah, last week we talked about yoga,
We talked about yoga and breathing.
breathing.
And then this time we are talking about one of the favorite topics of most people.
What is that?
Stress.
Oh, stress.
Yoga and stress.
Should I feel stressed talking about stress?
Well, you could. It's up to you.
Okay. I choose not to. Okay.
Because the idea is that stress is a very common thing, and the way we look at stress and the way we the concept we have about stress changes the way that we can deal with it.
Oh, okay. How so?
Well, what do you think is the most typical way that people think about stress?
Stress typically it is like, oh, I don't want to feel stress.
I don't want to feel stress.
It's a bad feeling.
It's a bad feeling. I shouldn't feel it.
Yeah, it gives me headache.
It gives me a headache. It's making me sick.
Makes me sick.
It
Stomach
makes me
ache.
miserable.
Yeah,
And to some extent,
I don't feel great.
you don't feel great. And somewhat that's true. To some extent, yes, stress is defined as a feeling of discomfort. But discomfort is interesting because it's not just a single experience.
Discomfort is not single experience.
In some ways, it's very relative. It's subjective for each person. It can be different.
Yes, right. Some person can endure certain extent of pain. They feel even comfortable, but to others, it's not.
And even for one person, at first, something can be very stressful and difficult, and later, the same activity can be relatively easy.
Right.
So we can grow our ability. Right. Now, you might say that we develop a tolerance, but fundamentally, we can get stronger through stressful experience, or we can go the opposite way and we can feel weaker.
Ah, okay.
And the difference between the two has a lot to do with the way that we interpret and face stress, as much as what exactly is happening to our body and mind in the first place.
Okay, great.
So that's why it's so important to talk about stress and to have a concept that empowers you rather than makes you feel weaker.
That is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then how do you recognize the stress?
So what is stress? Well, I think it's good to have a definition, even though it doesn't necessarily encompass the whole experience. But one definition of stress could be experiences that push us to the limit.
Experience that push us to the limit.
They challenge our limits, either physically, emotionally, or mentally.
Right. So anything that asks us to come out of our comfort zone, that creates stress.
Pretty much all the time.
Right.
And that's why every day we have some stress.
Right, because we are challenged by things, stressors.
Just life in general has stressors.
Right.
And so a day doesn't go by. Now, of course, we can have days where we feel thrilled, we feel relaxed and comfortable, but that's the exception to the norm. The average day is probably a little bit stressful for almost everyone.
Yes, me, yes, yes.
How about even if you have vacation?
Lots of stress, lots of stress. Sometimes through vacation, I got more stress.
Me too. Me too. And I think...
But I take photos when I'm not getting stressed. Even during the stress, I smile a lot and take photos and post on the social media. And they think that, oh my God, he's having great time. But actually, I need to deal with lots of stress.
I think a lot of people are in the same boat.
Yeah.
We smile, we take a photo after the photo's done.
Oh, you too? Okay, yes. Yeah.
Well, which is okay. I mean, it's good to make a good photo. It's good to remember things well. It's good actually to intentionally smile. All those things are good. But the point is, there's still stress.
Yes, lots of stress.
Now, if we feel like something is wrong, if we feel like we made a mistake or somehow life is imperfect because of stress, then stress becomes a big problem.
Right. So what is yoga for?
Yoga has a certain method to face stress, to deal with stress, which I personally have found very helpful.
Oh, what is that?
Instead of, like we've been saying, instead of looking at stress as a problem, look at stress as a natural occurrence.
Natural occurrence, yes.
And then develop some power to watch the experience instead of just reacting.
Ah, okay. So last time you said that yoga is a union of body and mind.
Very important. Yoga, union or connection of the body and mind.
Yeah, and also body and brain use the medium of energy to connect body and mind.
And energy itself is kind of the medium that connects this invisible mind.
Right.
You can't physically find the mind, but we know it's there. And then the physical body.
Right.
So the two are connected. And for dealing with stress, it's very important that connection is strong.
Right. So when you are stressed, then the connection is broken.
The connection can be broken,
right?
But not just because of the stress, but often by how we react to the stress.
Oh,
which
okay.
is if we don't like the stress, if we hate the stress, if we're afraid of the stress, then our mind naturally tries to get away.
I see. So we want to escape.
We want to escape.
Well, you want to avoid the feeling of stress.
Can you see so many ways that our modern society is helping people or following the desire of avoidance.
Avoidance.
What kind of things help us avoid? Entertainment. Sometimes, let's say, just medication that serves the purpose of just reducing pain. Yes, it can be very helpful, especially in the short term.
Some people need it.
Some people need it, absolutely, no problem.
Yes.
But as a long-term solution to stress and pain,
Especially if you abuse it,
if you abuse it, it can be more problem than actually it's helpful.
because it is just numbing.
It's just numbing. It's actually facilitating a disconnection.
Oh, so that is the opposite of the definition of yoga.
The
not the
opposite of
union.
the opposite of what yoga and any kind of mindfulness and presence, and actually even simpler than that, it's the opposite of what having courage to face life is all about. Is trying to avoid the discomfort, or let's say avoid the problem in the first place.
Right.
And can we solve problems if we avoid them?
No, not at all.
No, never.
You should face it.
Not to mention, if you believe in the idea of personal growth, in the idea of this life being a training ground, then avoiding is wasting time.
That is right.
We're avoiding the thing that's actually going to help us grow.
Yeah.
But all this is with a grain of salt. You got to understand, it's still uncomfortable. Yes, there's a part of us that still wants to avoid. That's not the problem. The problem is if we just follow that reaction without the ability to choose.
Right.
So that's where yoga comes in.
I see. Then what is the body and brain's approach to stress? How to deal with stress?
That's a great question, because these days, as we talked about before, there's so many types of yoga.
Right.
And each one can seem like a different practice and a different point. Body and brain in particular is about, like we said, connecting the mind and body through energy and developing strength and developing awareness through that energy.
Right. So by enabling them to feel energy, naturally they can feel their brainwaves more stabilized, and also they can feel the connection between body and mind, and then naturally they can reduce, or they can better manage the stress.
Exactly. And often when people feel that they can better manage the stress, they feel like they have less stress.
I see.
Even though a lot of them end up taking on more challenging jobs, or they face the problems and actually work harder, but they feel like they're under less stress. But from a certain point of view, we could say they have more stress, but they're actually happier.
Right.
And they're even healthier.
Right. So Ilchili says this once, there's stress. But if the stress comes from the dream, then you have chosen. And if you choose the dream, if you choose the stress, then the stress will become a medicine for you.
What an inspiring idea. And I've had that experience. Probably you've had that experience too. Even before I started this body and brain yoga practice, I remember when I was inspired, working hard was so exciting.
Yes.
Even you stay, like in college, you have a project with your friends, you're really inspired, stay up all night.
Right.
Now, I wouldn't recommend that these days, but working hard can be so great. Or on the other hand, working hard, even not working hard, just working a little bit, if it's not something that you care about, that you're invested in, it can be draining.
Yeah, that is why working from your heart is so important.
Great point.
Yeah, do the work that you really like.
Yep.
And you have passion about. That is really important.
Yep. And if you are working a job or you have responsibilities that you don't necessarily feel passionate about all the time, at least you can face it as a way to grow.
Oh.
So let's say, let's be really honest here. For a lot of people with kids, we love kids. If you have kids, you love your kids. You would do anything for them. But at the same time, day to day, is it always thrilling?
Oh, parenting is challenging.
It's challenging. So
Right.
I think a lot of parents can admit, honestly, that there are many days when it's not exciting. It's not really that fulfilling. You don't feel that inspired.
Right.
But you have to do it. You're not going to give up.
You're right, yes.
So instead of looking at it as just, oh, well, I have to do this. It's stressful, but I have to do it. That stress is a chance for you to grow day by day, just because of the fact that it's hard.
Right. Something out of your comfort zone. By choosing it, you can grow.
Absolutely.
And you can expand your potential.
And that's, in a sense, what life is all about. So body and brain yoga is practicing the tools, the techniques, and the principles that empower people to live with this kind of a mindset.
Ah, okay. Then can you show us some simple exercise to deal with stress?
I would love to. And this exercise is a very, very, very simple one. It's body tapping.
Oh, tapping.
Tapping the body. We've done it before a few different times. You might be familiar with it from other practices, and especially if you've been to body and brain yoga.
Right.
Here's chest tapping.
Chest tapping.
Chest tapping. Now, why do we tap the chest?
Yeah, why the chest?
I think you can hear, tapping pretty strongly. A little bit strange if you've never done it before, but why is tapping the chest so good? Because the chest is pretty much the first place where our system, our body accumulates tension when we have stress.
Oh, okay. So is it called like conception meridian channel?
That's right. Very good. The energy channel around the center line of the front of the body, the conception meridian channel, a very important energy line for our health and for our mental awareness and everything.
So this is very sensitive to stress.
Sensitive to stress, and everybody knows what happens when you get stressed. What happens to your chest?
Oh, it's stuffy.
Stuffy. You don't feel like you can breathe deeply.
Right.
You can't relax your shoulders. And actually, a lot of people might not notice, but your mind can't calm down if this is blocked.
Right.
You might have trouble sleeping.
Energy wants to come down, but there is like traffic jam.
Exactly.
So that the energy cannot flow.
It's a traffic jam. Now, what do? We want to relax, okay? So it might be counterintuitive to physically move more.
Right.
But we're doing exactly that because energetically, the principle states by stimulating our chest more, we actually stimulate a relaxation response after that.
Right. So when you get so much stress and angry, especially upset, and at that stage, if you want to close your eyes and sit down comfortably and do the meditation, it might not work.
Yeah, that passive meditation, you might find it really hard not to just keep thinking about what's upsetting.
So at that time, you want to do some dynamic meditation.
That's perfect. So that's a great term, dynamic meditation. If you haven't heard that, put that into your repertoire. Dynamic meditation, moving meditation.
Yes. So tapping, I already feel good, feel better.
Now, when you do tapping, I've heard it described like this. You're cleaning the house.
Cleaning the house.
Let's say that you just came back to your house after a month travel.
Oh.
Now you closed up the house to make sure that nobody could get in, that no bugs got in. When you come into the house, how do you feel? How does the house smell?
I am literally very familiar with that situation.
Because he travels a lot.
Yeah, it feels very stuffy, so I need to really clean.
You gotta clean, and we say, open the windows.
Open the window.
Otherwise, you're just dusting around the house, and all the dust goes up, and it comes back down.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So we say the same thing. When you do chest tapping, you have to open your mouth and breathe out. You know, like the end of a long day when you go home, you finally sit down. How do you breathe?
So with two hands, okay too?
Two hands, better than one.
Yeah.
Chest tapping. Now you can tap a little higher up. You can tap the center, maybe right between the breast. You can tap the breastbone with the fingertips. Open the mouth, let energy out. You can do this as much as you feel you need. Now, I've worked with certain people who had terrible stress. Maybe they'd been through a very emotional, painful experience. Even touching the chest lightly with the fingertip felt so painful that they screamed.
I've seen those people. Yes.
Have you?
Yes.
Now, you might, if they experience for the first time that pain, they might think, oh, you're hurting me.
Right.
But after a little bit of tapping, suddenly it's not as painful anymore. They realize how much stress they've been holding in the chest.
That means lots of stagnant energy around here.
So much stagnant energy. It also means that emotion can directly relate to the tension in the chest.
Yeah, right. When you get so much stressed, then you naturally point the fingers to other people.
Oh, it's so
then you
easy
can
to blame.
hold negative emotions, and then naturally you think that over and over and over again.
Yep.
Then lots of stagnant energy.
Oh, it's so painful. And then it's hard to notice
Hard to notice.
If you're stuck in that kind of a pattern, it's really hard to notice. I'm just going to keep doing this tapping for pretty much as long as we can here. It's hard to notice. That's why it's good to have a routine, like going to class or doing some homework exercise. Whether you think you're stressed or not, we have to do something with the body to check.
Right.
Because often it'll be a week or two go by that we're under stress. We don't even know it. We're not even able to notice it.
Right.
So tapping at home, if you have suffered from stress in the past, I highly recommend 2 or 3 minutes a day. Just tap your chest or tap your body without having to think whether or not you're stressed, because you'll notice after you do the tapping. Now, we've done the tapping for a few minutes. When you stop, what kind of things can you notice?
So much energy and vibration, peaceful, very
Vibration.
calm.
There's a difference, right? And because we've done this many times before, we can recognize it as a form of peacefulness.
Right.
Now-
And then this exercise will give you some elbow room
Yep.
to become more relaxed, and you can see things from different perspectives.
That's a great way of describing it. There's a little more room
Yeah.
to breathe, to watch the things that are going through the mind. So I would recommend, don't try to analyze the problem when you're under a lot of stress.
Right.
Yes, sometimes you got to, on the fly, you got to figure out what's wrong. But for the most part, as a habit, it's not effective.
Don't try to think it through.
Don't try to, think it through, figure it out.
Right.
First, move your body.
Dynamic meditation.
Dynamic, do chest tapping.
Right.
Change where your energy is, change the way that your body and mind are working, and then with that power of a little more space, you can watch what's happening more easily.
Right. And if you want to get some professional help, then feel free to visit Body and Brain Yoga Centers.
Absolutely. They are experts, and it helps you create a routine very easily just by showing up to class.
Right.
You get to practice this tapping.
Yes, because doing it together makes it much easier and better.
Yeah, it's so much better. I was hiking in Sedona recently, and I was taking a hike that I had taken once before, and I thought, wow, this time I was by myself, and I could hike so quickly. And I told someone, and they said, there's an old saying, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. But if you want to go far, go together with others.
Wow, I like that.
And so I think the same is true of managing our stress. If you want to go fast, then sometimes it's good just to have time alone and relax.
Right.
But if you want to take it far, if you really want to get better at managing stress, work together with
Work
others.
together, yes. That is why our podcast name is Healthier Together.
Absolutely. That's exactly why. Everything we do is about not just one person. From the start, Body and Brain Yoga is about not just one person's wisdom. Ilchi Lee's enlightenment and his techniques that he shares are not just for one person. It's about
Right.
each person awakening their own brightness and true self
Right, it's for everybody.
for everybody.
All right, so that's great.
Yeah. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please don't forget to like and subscribe so that you don't miss any videos.
And also leave your comment and let us know what you think.
Absolutely. We would love to hear from you.
Okay, let's better manage our stress.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
See you next time.
Bye.